You're watching Pyro Media Network.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. Alright, let's start the show. Hello everyone. Before we begin, we want to provide a brief trigger warning for our audience. This episode contains discussions and content that may be disturbing or triggering to some viewers and listeners. Topics may include specific triggers such as violence, abuse, mental health issues, etc. Your well-being is important to us. If you feel overwhelmed or need to step away at any point, please take care of yourself. Additionally, we encourage anyone who may need support to reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or mental health professional. Remember, it's okay to prioritize your mental and emotional health. Thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate your understanding and support. Now, let's get started with today's show.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone, and welcome to my show, It's Just Kim Live. Look, we talk about all kinds of topics, but mostly everything is all about relationships. And there are so many facets to relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that's involved. And we know that no one ever shows up perfectly to a relationship. And sometimes we don't enter relationships knowing everything. So I just wanted to share that. And I know you saw the trigger warning. So tonight we're going to be talking about intimate partner violence, AKA domestic violence. And I have some young ladies that are going to be here tonight, some beautiful women who have had that experience. And they're going to be telling their stories. And they're going to be hot. It's going to be honest, open, and transparent. That's what hot is. And so we're going to talk about this tonight. Please chime in. If you've had some experience or you know some things about dealing with intimate partner violence, go ahead, chime in. Let's get this conversation going, because what we want to do is we want to help. If we stay quiet, no one gets helped. But if we share our message and we tell our stories, then yes, somebody is going to get helped. And so that's what this show is all about, people being helped, women being helped. Now, I know that intimate partner violence happens to men as well, but tonight this show is only about the ladies. And some of the things that we may talk about definitely relate to the men, but tonight we're interviewing three beautiful ladies who have a story to tell. So like I said, some of this may be triggering. It may be disturbing to hear. And if it is, just check out, take care of yourself, go for a walk, get some water, just take care of yourself. So how this all started was a couple weeks ago. My niece, and you'll meet her tonight, she sent me a link for a podcast that she was on. She wanted me to listen to it. And the thing that struck me the most was she said, Auntie, we're just trying to get the word out. That struck me. So I took the time to listen to the podcast. As a matter of fact, I listened to it twice. And I was listening to these young women. I was listening to them tell their stories and their struggles. And then the most beautiful thing was their deliverance. And, some of our sisters, some of our brothers don't make it out of intimate partner violence, domestic violence. They don't make it out alive. And so, but we have these three beautiful young women who are here tonight, and they're going to share their story about how they made it out alive. But let me just share this, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring them in. Come on, Kwame, bring them in. Hello, ladies. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, Yaneek, Miss Topaz, and my niece, Michelle. Let me first say, ladies, I appreciate you for being here tonight. You didn't have to do it. I know some of you live on a whole different time zone, so it's probably very late where you are, but I appreciate you nonetheless. I appreciate you for being here, but I appreciate you for just being willing to tell your story, because I know telling your story is not always easy. Some of the things that happen in our life are very personal, but because you all want to help others, you're willing to do that. And so I just want to thank you for that. So I first want to just, give a little bit of information, because tonight we're talking about intimate partner violence, which is domestic violence. If some of us know, IPV has a direct effect on people's mental health, the mental health of women, of men, of children. It's linked to like PTSD, it's linked to depression, it's linked to anxiety, substance abuse, it's linked to suicide, self-harm, it's linked to a lot of those disorders. And actually, it is actually one of the most common forms of violence against women. One of the statistics said that it was about 640 million women and girls globally who experience intimate partner violence. So, they say that women who experience this are most likely to experience depression and drinking problems. Also, IPF is connected to other forms of violence related to serious health issues and economic consequences. And a lot of times I know that's one of the reasons, and we'll get into that later, why women feel that they have to stay in those relationships. Then even so, some of the cultural beliefs amplify gender-based violence. It's like the thing to do. It's acceptable, basically. So tonight we're going to dig into your stories. We're going to ask a few questions, and we're just going to keep it all the way 100. I shared earlier that I know you probably have never heard a story. Some of my viewers have never heard us talk about situations like this, but we're going to keep it raw, keep it right, and say the things that you need to say to tell your story. You don't have to say you sorry if a word slips out here and there. Just say what you need to say so that we can get the word out there. Okay, so we'll start with Michelle. Michelle is definitely my niece. She's an Ervin. She's my niece by marriage. However, I've been knowing her all her life. And so what we're going to do is I'll start with Michelle. Michelle, you can just kind of give us, tell us who you are, just a tiny bit about yourself, and then just tell us a little bit about your experience.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I did want to first apologize for Josy not being able to make it, due to her emergency. I wanted to apologize for that. Okay. Yeah. And then I also wanted to say Topaz actually never actually experienced domestic violence, but she grew up I'll say in an environment where she had to learn from it. So that's why we wanted to bring her, so it could be like a different perspective on
exactly.
But as for me, I can honestly say my first I'm 40 years old. I have 4 kids. I've been married. I've been divorced. I first ever experienced domestic violence when I was 19 years old with my very first boyfriend. Was the very first time I ever experienced domestic violence, and I feel like because I experienced it, and then you just kept going, it just becomes like kind of a habit, and it makes you feel like, oh well, this must just be what everybody does, Especially like if you see your friends going through it and their boyfriends are doing it to them, and nobody's saying anything, and everybody's just kind of like covering it up, and because they do that. They cover it up for each other. They won't, call them on it. Like I've literally been getting beat up by my ex-husband, and his friends were standing there, and nobody did anything. They all just stood there and was like, "Well, we don't really want to have an argument with him. We don't want to, we don't want to have a fight with him. We don't want to get into it with him. Like that's y'all business, stuff like that." And I believe that that's kind of where we go wrong at. A lot of the times we say that's not my business. We don't want to get in there, cross the line, or we don't. But sometimes I feel like we do need to get in people's business when it comes to things like that, because you could save somebody's life. I mean, that's just pretty much. I wanted to start with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, Topaz, tell us a little bit about your experience. I know you didn't experience it directly, but the children who watch or see or experience domestic violence, they're affected as well. So go ahead and share a little bit about yourself and what you experienced.
All right. Hi, my name is Topaz Jones. Like they said, I have never experienced domestic violence personally. But I have grown up with domestic violence. I have watched my mother be beaten on numerous occasions. It's not a pretty sight. As a kid, I really didn't know what to do. All I could do at that point was know that that was something that I didn't want to experience when I got older. And yeah, like I'm here to learn. I'm here to listen. I want to hear you guys out. And yeah.
So Topaz, I had a question for you actually before we go to Yaneek. Because you watched this happen as a child, and you said something really important right there. You said it's something I knew I never wanted to experience in my life. So what do you think because a lot of times when we experience things as children, it doesn't always happen this way. But a lot of times when we experience things as a child, we end up experiencing it as an adult. Okay, it becomes part of who we are. Can you tell us what were some things that you did that, you were like, this ain't happening to me? What were some things that you put in place in your life that prevented you from experiencing domestic violence directly?
I feel like, I don't know how to explain it, honestly. All I know is I feel myself being pulled into a certain character that I don't normally, because I've been adopted. So like once my mom went to prison and my dad went to prison, well, he was my stepdad that my mom was married to. Once they went to prison and my brothers went to prison, I had nobody. So I went to go live with, my foster family, and they just didn't move like that. So it was more of I know this is what I've grown up seeing, and it is more. It is a way to, like you don't have to. I didn't really experience that once I moved with my new family. So it was more of like taking notes. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Okay, I got with my first boyfriend. We was kids. 15 years old. So it really, wasn't too much to, a little argument or something. I think I was more of the, what would I call it? Like, when you get the problems when everybody just leave you, so you kind of
abandoned.
So I kind of do let go easily. So pretty much if you're not doing what I want you to do, you can leave me alone.
I think I heard you say on the other show that you'll stop talking. Was you the one who said that? You said I'll stop talking to myself.
Yeah, I just feel like it's no need to be sitting up there doing all that. Listen, you can go do that with somebody else because it's not gonna be me.
Okay, I hear you. I hear you, Miss Topaz, and I thank you and I appreciate you for that. Yaneek, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your story?
My name is Yaneek Sanders, and I grew up in a household with domestic violence. Although I didn't know at the time that that's what it was called, right? I just
Wow.
thought we were just living and that's just the way things went. My father was the person who raised me. My mom was in and out of the household due to drug addiction.
Mhm.
And she was actually the abuser in the case.
Wow.
Just the places her addiction would take her. She would come in the house and often we would be the ones that fell victim to the abuse. And again, at that time I didn't know what it was. I didn't put a label to it. I'm just knowing that this is just the way it is in my household. We eat, we are well kept. My father takes very well care of us. He loves us. Even though I grew up to realize that words were very few in my household, right?
Mm,
So for me, I realized that his actions was those of love as I grew to understand life. Because initially, I'm just thinking he's being a parent. He's just,
mm,
I love you wasn't a common thing that was said in my house. Affection wasn't a common thing that was expressed in my house. Um,
mhm.
but we were well taken care of. He
Yeah.
he instilled certain morals, he taught us respect. Like my father was heavy on just being a reciprocal being, just
Mhm.
being able to treat people how you want to be treated. I remember
Mm,
those lessons early on. So when my mom would come and take his money or try to take our belongings, my jewelry, and they would get into a full-blown fist fight, it's one of those things where and keep in mind my father was older. So my mom
mm,
was more young, more, you know, more she had an advantage in a
wow.
situation. So again, that dysfunction kind of shaped my mind and my brain for relationships, right?
Mhm.
What I took from it was just the durability, that my
Wow.
father had. And because he never shut his door on my mother. He
Mm,
never, no matter what she put us through, no matter what we went through, he always had that door open, not only, to her, but to the I watched that about him. He was one of those people who uh gave chance after chance, so to speak.
mm,
Like he just had that belief that people can be changed, can be the better of themselves with the right moral support, with the right people to back them in their corner. And
mhm.
again, as a child, I didn't take these lessons. I'm just living. When I uh even in my own relationship, I didn't label it domestic violence.
Wow.
It was one of those things where I just came from a such a hardened, such a toughened um, background that it was almost like that's a boy and a girl fighting. You know
Wow.
what I mean? It's one of
It
those
was
things where so
normalized.
I grew up fighting boys.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was I didn't come from a background where uh it was so much role orientation to where
Mm,
the friction between a man and a woman was abnormal. It was
wow.
more so of one of those things of normality. So
Mm,
it wasn't until like I kind of told Michelle, until I felt like I was walking on eggshells, until I
mm,
said, wait, Shaniva, this feeling is not this is no. I had to tap into my inner. emotion, my inner fear, on top of the fear of abandonment, on top of, my separation anxiety, on top of, the fact that who really wants to be alone, on top of all of that, and say, is this conducive? Is this skip for me, for my children? Is when it, does it work better together, or can we do this separately and build a healthier rapport and relationship for the children? Is what essentially my decision making had to come to. And just a lot of things for me, my social stature, my, like, a lot of it played a part. I'm a woman of I'm a bigger woman, right? So society is going to tell you domestic violence don't happen to them. Who beating her ass? Excuse my language, but the real of it is, and especially when you're somebody like me, who I was always a fighter. I never was not a fighter, even when I was in that situation. So this is why it was so harder for me to say a victim. Who? It's
stop you there. Let me ask you this question. Let me ask all of you this question. So you said something really important, Yaneek. One of the things you said was sometimes, and I guess it lends into why the question I was going to ask, why do some people stay in these relationships? You said something I've talked to several women who have been in these types of relationships, but one of the things you said was, because I didn't want to be alone. I have never heard a woman say that to me. I part of it was this and part of it was that, but sometimes you just don't want to be alone.
Most women in reality haven't even probably come to that realization, right? But for me, coming from a household where my father raised me, and my mom was the absent parent, and I came from a yearning, a longing, I always knew that severance was an issue for me. Abandonment was a greater issue for me. So when I started to learn myself, when I started to, build that relationship with myself, I said to self, Shaniva, the biggest part of this is you don't want to be alone. Not to say, that we can't live life, doing it on our own, because somehow, some way we end up doing it in the time that we need to, we pull it together. That's the survival in us. But are we living when we're in those moments? We're not, we're surviving. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that you spoke to, in the beginning, was about like the economics, that part of it. Oh my God. When I mean to tell you, it ties hands, feet, hearts, minds, souls like no other. If I've never, ever, 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 ever known a reason why people stay in the situations that they stay in, including poverty, including subsidy, including drowning themselves in misery using chemical, is because of that. Is one of the reasons why one of my biggest things is wage slavery. Is having us trapped in that mindset where our living can't get better. We're trapped. We're trapped. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. They tell you a two household, they divide your households, but make it where you can't live without a 2-income household.
That's right.
So it's either, somebody's taking that, somebody's losing. Something is not getting met. And oftentimes we suffer from that neglect. We take away from ourselves, whether it's working these jobs for 12, 14 hours, because we're trying to put food on the table and we don't want to go down there and be on government assistance. Or, we have to work 2 jobs sometimes, or we deal with a household where you're walking on eggshells because the sole provider knows that they're the sole provider.
Wow.
For me, like I said, it was one of those things where the minute that I woke up and I said, to me, you love everything and everybody around you. Shaniva, you got to put that into you. Everybody and everything around you, you got to pour back into you, because while you doing all of this, I was losing myself. And
So
that's just.
let me ask you this. What was the moment? Can you identify that moment, that day? What happened when you said, the scales are off my eyes, I can see? What happened?
It was basically one of those things where I realized that a conversation was never going to be a conversation. It was always going to be an argument. That it was a comprehension issue. Like our mentals are not aligned. It's one of those things where I knew inside I'm tired. Like I'm fighting the world around me. I'm losing left and right. I when I mean to tell you, I don't know what it is, but the girl been fighting. She been fighting. So when people tell me like, Shaniva, you a fighter, I know that. I know that, So when I came to the realization that I was getting nowhere, nowhere. Like this, it was stagnant, and it's been stagnant for years. And in this one particular conversation, just trying to get someone to understand that, things don't get like this overnight. Being an accountable party is big, because I'm big on saying, did I take, part in my situation? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm never, ever going to say I didn't have that part to play. I bear my crosses. And when I say that, I say, okay, now I accepted that accountability. Now, how are we going to move forward from this, right?
Exactly.
Because that's the next part as well.
Yeah.
And when I realized that.
Let me ask you this, Yaneek. So accountability, because I don't know if you noticed that I named this show I Love Me Not, and I know many times we talked about being having a financial abuse, not being able to take care of yourself, physical abuse, the mental abuse, the social abuse where you're estranged from your families, and all of that, and how sometimes you come into it thinking that it's normal, it's okay. But then I say I love me not, because really it's like you think you love yourself, but maybe you love, and please, ladies, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but you raised some good points, Yaneek. You said sometimes you have to take accountability, because what is it about this that keeps me here, where I'm accepting certain things from a person because I want certain things. I need certain things. And I'm not saying that every woman that stays because she wants a good house, a nice house, she wants clothes, she wants this, she wants that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, so at some point, I think in everybody's life, no matter what we experience, what we're going through with our partners, with our families, with our friends, there is a point where we take some responsibility, or at least come into some awareness of what part we keep playing in this. No, do we say, it's my fault that you hit me, I shouldn't have said this? Absolutely not. Because none of you took somebody's hand and punched yourself with it, or whatever the case may be. But you don't even know, you are blessing me so much, because you're giving us a part of this whole thing with domestic violence, intimate partner violence, that sometimes people don't talk about. They don't talk about who I am, and I'm a big girl, so people gonna think that I should be in here, duking it up, and I shouldn't be letting people to, beat me up, and I shouldn't be letting people commit violence against me, abuse me, all these different things that people don't even talk about, that they don't even think about. So I want to thank you for sharing that. I'm going to move to Michelle, and I'm going to ask you this question, Michelle. First, let me ask you why you stayed, and then tell us what that moment was. I am so into moments because I feel like awareness is extremely important in everyone's life, no matter what they're going through, what they've been through. But I feel like it's almost like that aha moment. What was it that happened that you said, what am I doing?
I was going to answer it, but Kwame is saying that we need to go to break. So I don't know.
Go to break. We sorry, we got into it. Yeah. We'll be right back. We have a commercial. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for enlightening conversations that transcend boundaries? Get ready for Conversations with Clergy, brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network. In partnership with the world's largest publicly funded international collaboration, the HVTN is dedicated to evaluating vaccines to prevent HIV and COVID-19. But their impact doesn't stop there. The HVTN is at the forefront of advancing vaccinology, social and behavioral sciences, statistics, immunology, and even contributing to the research on tuberculosis and COVID-19 vaccines. By supporting Conversations with Clergy, the HVTN not only brings you thought-provoking discussions, but also contributes to the global effort to combat infectious diseases. Tune in, stay informed, and be a part of the change. Conversations with Clergy, supported by the HVTN, empowering conversations, empowering lives. Join us in this journey of knowledge, understanding, and progress. Conversations with Clergy, proudly brought to you by the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, because together we can make a difference.
Elevate your entertainment with Watch Vim. Discover the ultimate online streaming destination. Get an auto-renewing monthly subscription for unlimited content on all devices. Join us in supporting a Black-owned streaming platform that brings top-tier entertainment. Let the streaming excitement begin at Watch Vim, your seamless experience for endless entertainment. Stream online or download the Watch Vim app now.
Did you know that you can now catch the electrifying sounds of Bulletin Flight Radio anywhere you go? Yes, you heard it right. Tune in to the high-flying beats and soaring melodies by downloading the TuneIn app on your mobile device. Just search for Bulletin Flight Radio and hit play. It's that easy. And if you have a smart device like Alexa or Google, just say, "Hey Google," or "Alexa, play Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn." Experience the rush of adrenaline wherever you are. Listen to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn using your Alexa or Google devices. Soaring through the skies has never sounded this good. Don't miss out on the ultimate musical journey. Tune in now to Bulletin Flight Radio on TuneIn and let the music take you on an unforgettable ride. Get ready to elevate your listening experience. Brought to you by Bulletin Flight Radio.
Okay, so we're back. And we are talking today. My show today is Just Kim. Welcome back. We are talking about intimate partner violence, aka domestic violence, however you want to coin it, term it. And I have 3 beautiful young women here today. 2 have experienced it firsthand, and then 1 has experienced it, indirectly through her family. We've been having an amazing conversation and just a hot, honest, open, and transparent talk about what this situation is for some people. It's not the same for everyone. But before we went to commercial, Michelle was going to answer that question. She was going to tell us a little bit about why she stayed and what was her aha moment when she knew it was time to get out.
Okay. So I'm gonna talk about, because I've been through domestic violence in more than one relationship. And I didn't know at the time, I just kept thinking, like, what is it that I'm doing wrong that's making all these guys treat me like this? But it took me till I got to be this age now that I'm standing in the gap for so many other women that I wouldn't have been able to do this and be this strong to be able to help other women if I didn't go through all the different things that I went through, because I would have still been scared. And I wouldn't have been, able to open my mouth and say anything. But I want to say the first time when I was in the relationship when I was 19 years old, he actually went to jail for a probation violation from a case from beating up his baby's mother. So I didn't know that. So when I went and I looked up his case online, I seen his charges, and that's what made me be like, girl, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not, like, this is who he is. This don't have nothing, you know what I mean? It's not you. This is just who he is. So when he went to jail, I just left. And then, that's how I got away. But not knowing that I would meet my husband, do you know what I mean? Directly after that, thinking him saying, oh, I understand everything you went through. I'm going to help you, all that stuff. And I didn't know that, like, he was going to be like that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm hearing stories, but the story, what he's telling me in the stories, like, his mom was like, oh, he tried to fight me before. His mom's telling me this, but I'm like, oh no, he probably didn't. Like, there's no way, like, somebody would do that. But all these things I'm hearing, the red flags, but I'm not seeing them because he's not showing me that side. You know what I mean? Until he did show me that side. Wow. And then it got to the point where he was doing it in front of other people who were supposed to be my friend too. So it was making me feel like, well, maybe I deserve it. Or maybe it's okay because nobody's helping. And these are people that have known me longer than known him. And you know what I mean? So I'm like, but even though we both know, but it's like, dang, y'all not going to help me. And and then they would be sneaky and do stuff like, sis, you ain't got to deal with that, right? Sis, you really should just leave him. But they would never say nothing to him. They would always tell me, you know what I mean? Like, on the low type stuff. And then I used to be like, but y'all see he's crazy. Like, y'all see what I'm going through, Right. But I always felt like, dang, like, y'all not going to help me. Until his sister, she asked me one day, we were going to the store, and she said, I got to ask you something. I've been wanting to ask you something ever since I know you. Does he be hitting you? And she said it just like that. And I said, yes. And she said, I knew it. She said, girl, if you ever want me to come, I will come. Call me, I will come. I do not care. And one day I was holding my son. He was like 3 months old, Ashton, and he hit me in my forehead, and my whole forehead split open, and I was bleeding. And I called her, and she said, I'm on my way. And she was there, and she came and she got me, and I left. And what made me leave was because I was like, she didn't have to come. She definitely didn't have to stand up against her family. You know what I mean? And go against him to come get me. So it was like I owed that to me, to my son, to leave. But just to end up going back years later thinking, oh, he changed, he's better because he's been married and he's been doing that, thinking just for him to, when I realized that he hadn't changed and I said, you know what, I'm going to leave, then he was like, D, I should have killed you 10 years ago. Choked me out until I passed out, and then discharged his weapon. He missed, and then his friend came from upstairs, picked up the bullet casing, and left. Like nothing happened. This is all while he's already on house arrest for attempted murder. And then that's when it clicked in my head, like, girl, nobody's gonna protect you but you. You've been hiding this man's secrets all this time. You're not saying nothing. You trying to protect his image instead of protecting your life. Like, if you don't speak up, nobody else gonna speak up for you. Wow. And then it took for me to find out that he had been hitting my son for me to really just be like, okay, no, this is enough. So this is what we're about to do. Like, I have to, now at this point, I have to tell everything. You know what I mean? Because if I don't, it's like my life, my son's life. and it's just at that point now. I just feel like you get to a point when you're not scared anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna pug me no more. You're not about to make me feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be scared or anything like that. But it takes a minute to get there. I'm not gonna lie, because you know you'll be scared. But it's just when you get to the point where you just know more, you just know that it's no more.
And I think because I remember helping a young lady, and we're going to speed it up some. I remember helping a young lady. The first time I helped her, it was a team of us. You know, I work with teams.
Right.
And it was a team of us. We got together. We went over there. We packed her up. You know, we got her out. And I took her to my house. So we were just kind of like having like this moment where we were all trying to talk to her. So even her family had came down to help her, and we were having this moment with her, and she was sitting there talking to us, and she had him on speakerphone. So he was hearing everything we were saying. And we weren't talking about him personally, but we were trying to encourage her. Get out. It's time for you to move. It's time for you to move on. And when she had us on speakerphone and her mother was saying some things, we were all talking. And I knew then, I said, she's not ready.
Mm-hmm.
She's not ready. So I let her go to sleep. She had just had a baby. I let her go to sleep. The next morning, I packed her stuff up, put it in my car, and I said, call your man, because, you know, that's where you want to go. And I think I was resolved. I wasn't angry. I was sad. And so I put her and the baby in my car, and I drove her to a place where I met up with him, because he wanted to come to my house. I said, that wouldn't be good for you. So we met somewhere. And you know, when he got out of the car to come get her and all her stuff, you know, he was trying to explain this stuff. I said, you don't have to explain yourself to me. But before she got out of the car, I said this to her, and I meant it with everything. I said, you're going back. I said, you're going to need me. And guess what? I'm going to be there for you. And so when she got tired, like you guys are saying, she got sick and tired, and she just couldn't do it anymore. This is how I knew she was ready. She left without anything. She left with a baby bottle, a couple Pampers. I don't think she had milk, because one of our friends ended up getting that stuff for her so she could get on a bus or a train or whatever it was and go way back to the other coast, you know, to her family. And it touched me, because I said, wow, there, like you were saying, Yaneek, there is like a tie. You know, it's almost like a soul tie. You know, it's like the hooks get hooked inside of you, and it's like you really can't escape until you have that moment where you're saying, what am I doing? Why am I still here? You know, and years later, that young lady called me. She apologized to me and told me she realized that everything that I was saying to her and her family and all that was right. And I told her, you don't ever have to, the best thing you could have ever did was to get out. That's what blessed me, was when you left. So Michelle, thank you for sharing that, you know, why you stayed, your experience. Let me ask you ladies this. How did that experience affect your mental health? Yaneek?
That's it's one of those things where I kind of told my sister, like, as a joke, right? One day I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to therapy, right? Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, like, but her response was more of one of those things like, maybe you should, you know, like, just because now we are adults, right? And we it's okay not to be okay, right? I
Yeah.
mean, after enduring, like I said, when you're in the whirlwind, you don't realize you're in the whirlwind. It's when you actually make it to safety is when you're able to say, whoa. Like, so any emotional ups and downs that you go through is to be expected, right? Like, I mean, you are peeling back
Yeah.
layers, because
Yeah.
I feel like you said, that moment of awareness is now you reach that moment. Now is really when you're going through that
Yeah.
storm for real, because you're
Yes.
reliving every moment that you just endured for however long that you've endured it. That journey that you enter on, it does take a toll, on you emotionally, which, without saying, bears on your mental state. I mean, that's just, it's like
Absolutely.
duh, right?
Yeah.
So I have definitely considered, and that's just overall, just not speaking to that one situation in particular, just overall, people, I feel like one of the most important things is an outlet.
Mhm.
And a lot of us don't have that. If you think about it, how many people can say they have a best friend? How many
Right.
people can say they have a safe haven or a
Yeah.
place where they could just release without judgment, without, you know, people who are listening to respond versus listening to just understand and just be there? You know,
Yeah.
no, it's not many people that can say that they have that. So, it's just, for me, one of those things where I've definitely considered it, just, for the fact of me wanting to be in a better space emotionally, mentally, and me being able to say, me not being okay after all I've been through is okay.
Yeah. So let me say this to you, Yaneek. If you have not gotten into therapy, do it. It's the
Yeah.
best investment that you can make into your own self, to
Hmm.
yourself, to your well-being, to your mental health, to your self-esteem, your confidence in who you are. I can see that you've grown. I don't even know, I didn't know you back then, but just the way you speak and you talk, I know that your experience has matured you. But there are some other places inside you that a therapist can tap into, that you'll be surprised at other things that will start coming up when you get into therapy. So Michelle, how did this affect, I'm going to ask you a different question. How did this affect the mental health of your children?
Um, I think I'm very aware of mental health in my kids because I had depression when I was like growing up, and they were trying to put me on medication when I was like in elementary and junior high and stuff. And I was suicidal when I was younger. So like certain things, I'm like more aware of it maybe than most parents. Like even if it's just like a little something that's like shows that you have anxiety real bad or something like that, or I could just tell, I'll ask. You know what I mean? Especially Ashton, he's the one. He has anxiety bad, and I feel like because I have anxiety and his dad had anxiety, I feel like he has it. You know what I mean? Both sides, and then the things he's been through, is he doesn't know how to explain it. He just will be like, he'll just start crying and say, "Mom, I don't know. It's something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Just help me." And then I just like, hold up.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So you can get through it. But I know that it's anxiety because I have anxiety. But I just know at his age, he doesn't know how to, put it into words or how to deal with it. So I've just been trying to, he's in there. Well, we've been looking for a therapist. His counselor at school has been helping. But I can just tell, he's different when he's around me than when he's there. Because when
okay,
he even just the thought of having to go back into the toxic situation, he like shuts down and he'll just like stop talking. He doesn't want to say anything and he'll just be like, "But I don't want to go. But is there
mm,
anything we can do? Because I don't want to go." And he's like, very smart. So his everything he's saying is, it's just hard because it's like I know he means it, and it's like I hate that because of who I chose to be with. You know what I mean? It affected him. So now it's like I'm going out of my way to try to fix it because I don't want him to have to grow up with that.
Right. Miss Topaz, I know we haven't said much else to you, but I wanted to ask you, what you witnessed, how did that affect your mental health?
I want to just maybe backtrack that my mother was married to a man who raised me. And then she just one day didn't come back home, and she ended up getting a new boyfriend who she's married to still this day. I remember where my dad would just be like, so you don't want to go stay with your mom, and basically tried to shield me from her, because I felt like maybe he knew more. I was just a kid, but as I would cry, I just want to be with my mom, I would go spend the night with her, and them nights I just remember, because she was on drugs, her and her man, they were on drugs. I don't know if anybody else could relate to when your parent go and shut that door, and now you're just in the living room. I have two brothers, but they're older than me, so I really was pretty much the only child, So when she went in that room, y'all, I remember I used to just act up so tough because I want you to come out here. I came over here to spend time with you. You're not spending no time with me. And then I hear you in there, y'all done locked the door. You in there screaming, and I don't know what went. One minute you was fine, next minute you're not fine, So I just remember beating on the doors, screaming like, come out, like, and at first it feels like they never really wanted me to see it, but I still heard it, I still knew what was going on. And it just kind of got worse to the point where, like, I remember my mom tried to kill herself, y'all. And I remember having to call the ambulance and going to the hospital with her, and they was able to pump her, get her system back clean and everything. And that to me was scary. It was traumatizing. That was more of me wanting to self-love, like, girl, if that love make you feel like that, I do not want that type of love. And like, she grew and married this man after my dad had passed away. She married this man. They are still married, like I said, to this day. Y'all, I used to feel like you can get somebody as much help as you feel like they need, but like y'all said, if they not ready, then it's really nothing that you can do about it. Like, I done had family come and help my mom. My brothers would come and beat the man up, beat him to like the Pope, and still she was right back with him the next day. So it was something like, I was like, girl, what is wrong with you? And then for her to be bigger, like Yaneek said, people was looking at her like, you this size and you always been fighting, so why you never fought him back? And as a kid, I used to look like that, like, hold on, because I think we can help this man. I feel like I'm little, I'm a child, but I can help you. I'm like, we should be fighting him back. But it was like at the same time, it's like that wasn't my place. I was scared.
Yeah.
And okay, I just remember one day he had choked her out in front of me, y'all. And I really didn't know what to do. And she kept on screaming, like, go get help. But I didn't want to leave her. So it's like, dang, stay here and continue to watch her, or I need to go. So I go to run towards the front door, and he blocked the front door. So now I threw up. I was crying so bad, I threw up. And it's just like, okay, you saying you love me, and you don't love my mama, you don't love me. I can't go get no help. I don't know what to do. I just take off running, y'all, out the back door. I think I was about 9 years old. My mom lived across the street from a fire station. And I ran right past the fire station, not knowing that they could help me. This ain't no fire. We need the police. So I ran 5 blocks down. And it was probably about 2 o'clock a.m. And I'm just running, y'all. I finally get down there, and they bring me back home. And, she told them that she had failed. Nothing had happened. And that right there that did something to me.
Yeah.
And still to this day, like he will sit there and be like, my daughter never go against me. And I just be like, yeah, I don't like him. I never have liked him.
Let me say this. You all don't even understand how much you have helped tonight. And we haven't even dug deep into all of everything. I haven't even answered all the questions that I have. We need a part 2. And I want all of you, and we're gonna bring what's her name, Josy. We're gonna bring her on too. Yes, we're gonna bring her on too. But we have to wrap it up because our show is just an hour, and we don't want to go to Facebook or YouTube jail. So, I can explain how grateful I am to the 3 of you for just sharing and being honest and open. And the thing I like about stuff like this is we don't have to get into all the dirty details, just knowing that you've been through this particular thing is enough. So my producer is like pushing. We need a part 2. So I don't do It's Just Kim every week, but I do it every other week. So I'm definitely going to bring you guys back, not next week, but the week after. Please be available. So I'll share the link with you, and we're going to finish this conversation. What we're going to do too is I also have a podcast. We're going to use this for the podcast as well. So people everywhere, people who listen, people who watch, everyone will be able to hear it. They'll be able to share it so that we can help young women out there, with dealing with intimate partner violence, and knowing that if you all can be free, they can be free too. Okay? So thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Thank you for those of you who are watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Be a part of what we're doing here on It's Just Kim, the live show. I love you guys. I appreciate you. I thank my guests for being here today. They were absolutely wonderful, and we love you. We're going to say good night so that we don't get in trouble. But thank you, ladies. Ladies, remain on. Don't log off. Thank y'all. Love you. Bye. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.